dear Mr. Gramegna, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, it's a pleasure for me to welcome you here at the Europa Experience in the heart of the European Quarter in Luxembourg, the new visitor center that the European Commission and the European Parliament have opened in May for you and for all other citizens who want to get a closer and better idea of what Europe does, how it works. And the subject that we are talking about tonight is certainly a part of what Europe does, maybe not necessarily what the European Union is doing, but it's nevertheless something that brings us all together, and I'm happy to see so many of you here in this room. When we talk about financial responses to crisis, when we talk about financial stability, we are entering a territory where, as we are at the Parliament seat here in Luxembourg, I also need to underline that parliamentary oversight, that democratic scrutiny is a bit more limited than on other actions that the European Union as such does. But I'm happy that Mr. Gramegna, who is here tonight, has also entered not only into exchange with the European Parliament, but in 2023, the ESM and the Parliament signed a memorandum of cooperation which established a framework for better cooperation between those two institutions, and a memorandum that will certainly help to improve the interinstitutional dialogue between ESM and Parliament and enhance also aspects like transparency and accountability. I do not want to enter too much into details because I know that we have other speakers who will welcome you and who are even better prepared than I am. But let me allow you to invite you already at the end of this conference to join us for a drink and for a small reception, and maybe also discover the interactive exhibition space that is located right between this room and the area where we will have the reception. This visitor center is now open Monday to Saturday from 10 to 6 in the evening. And I can only invite you, if you have guests coming over here in summertime, bring them along and show them what Europe does, not only to help dealing with financial crisis, but in all also in direct service for the citizens of this European Union. This is why we are here, and this is why we are also happy to host this conference tonight. And with that, I have the pleasure to give the floor to the rector of the University of Luxembourg, to Mr. Kreisel.
Thank you very much. I find it kind of difficult to continue after a person who has just been introducing that we will have drinks. So we will all stand in between the drinks and you. So as an introduction, thank you very much. Monsieur Gramegna, distinguished guests and excellencies, dear partners of the Robert Triffin Lectures, ladies and gentlemen, einen schönen guten Abend Ihnen allen. C'est un plaisir de vous recevoir ce soir. I've heard that Italian seems to be the lingua franca this evening, so unfortunately I cannot do this, so I will do my little Luxembourgish, so guten Abend. So as the rector of the University of Luxembourg, it's really a pleasure to welcome you here, and it's a real privilege to the Bridge Forum Dialogue, and yet to another Robert Triffin lecture. I would like to underline first that we have been coming together and that this lecture is prepared in cooperation between different organizations, the European Stability Mechanism, the European Parliament Liaison Office in Luxembourg, the Foundation Robert Triffin International, and the University of Luxembourg. So the good news is right from the beginning on, we don't have 5 events as we often have here in Luxembourg in the evening, but we're all here together for listening to Mr. Gramegna and also for having drinks together. And I'm really very grateful for this partnership because it brings a lot of experts together and it usually comes out having a larger discussion. So this year, as you all would know, marks the 80th anniversary of the Bretton Woods Conference, which ultimately has kick-started the International Monetary Fund. It has been, it's clear, a very visionary idea. It gave birth to the euro 25 years ago already, which started in 2019. So it will be really interesting to reflect on our response, on the financial responses to the challenges we have ahead of us. And I believe we all agree that the challenges we're having ahead of us are quite important. Some would claim every generation has had dramatic and important challenges ahead of us, but I think we are not too bad in a comparison of challenges. We very certainly have an extraordinary disruptive change in technology, and I think it is fair to say that this has not happened for a quite long time. It is also clear that the climate events we're having today are dramatic, and there cannot be any doubt that there is scientific evidence for climate change. Our economies are very much under pressure for a number of years by now, and the geopolitical tensions are difficult, and I really don't know where this will be going. So it is interesting, and it will be also interesting for me to hear what are the financial responses to this. And I believe it is interesting to discuss, perhaps also later on, that not only we need considerable funds, but we also need to combine public and private funds. I'm very much convinced that we need both of them. The public funds will not be enough. I find this a quite interesting question to ask us on what topic we will have what mix, which topics will be more dominated by public funds, which will be more dominated by private funds, and which go more into public-private partnerships. So with this, I would like to share with you three thoughts which accompany me for a couple of years, in particular since I'm in management positions. And please bear with me, these are general comments. I'm just applying them to the topic of tonight. The first one is perhaps one of the first lessons I've learned as a manager, is that nothing is more structuring than money. Money is very structuring. Or as some colleagues of mine would say, the cats always go to the milk pot. And if the milk pot is money, then it is very much structuring. But it is much more than this. Financing is sending out signals, is structuring things. And I believe that we need elements which provide clarity, which provide structure, and which provide signals. And I believe this is particularly true for the green and digital economy. Because here and there, people might also feel that this is a bit too much to speak about green and digital, and you can very easily get lost in complexity when you speak also about sustainability, because there are so many different dimensions: the social dimension, the economic dimension, the ecologic dimension. So we must be sure of not being lost in complexity. So we need clarity on this, and it is clear that our children, our students at the university and society at large will judge us later on the efforts and the clarity we have been providing in front of these challenges. So at the university, we are also trying to send out signals. We have just been creating a new interdisciplinary center in European law. I believe it is really important in a just society reflect on law, how law will shape democracy today and tomorrow. And we have just been creating also a new interdisciplinary center in environmental systems, because we believe we need to send out a signal in that context. So to finish that point, I believe that financing models, financial instruments, they can provide the needed clarity. And they can be very strong instruments for providing clarity and providing the necessary signals in front of these challenges. The second point, which is accompanying me in particular as a rector, is that planning the future is not something straightforward at all. We've got all tendencies, I don't know in which institutions you all are, we're doing plans for the next 20 to 30 years, but in our heart we know no one can predict really these 20 to 30 years. And one person has been phrasing this very well, is a Swiss author, Friedrich Dürrenmatt, and he has said, the more humans proceed by plan, the more effectively they may be hit by accident. So yeah, that's part of the question. So let us still reflect a little bit on planning, because I have the feeling that this sentence about is planning possible and how often you're hit by this has been really invented for artificial intelligence. If you reflect on different topics, different challenges, not artificial intelligence, but climate change or medicine or democracy, for some of them you can reflect in what is happening in 10 years' time. for some of them, not all of them. And if you identify your vision where you want to go and where you want to be in 10 years' time, then you can do the retro engineering, then you can develop a strategy where to go. But who of us knows where we will stand with artificial intelligence in 10 years' time? We know it's a disruption, we know there will be change, but we've got absolutely no idea how it will look like in 10 years' time. So the CEO of NVIDIA, that's the manufacturer of most of the memories and microelectronics for calculating AI, etc., he said, we are in the iPhone moment of AI, that's right. But, okay, we know the moment, but we don't know where to go. And by the way, at the moment, the iPhone moment, we had no clue where we were to go. We were just seeing that some of them, including Nokia, had problems. So generative AI, large language models, will transform entire industries. It will, of course, modify entire industries, also like the financial industries is perhaps one of the most struck industries, by the way. And we will be struck. Huh? We are mostly, I guess, white collars in this room, and unfortunately, this is the first revolution which will touch us very much, the white collars, because it's difficult to replace a number of manual works. But we might be touched. But by the way, there is a German Futuromat, and you can put in your job, and then you can see to what percentage you can be replaced. I've done this. So a rector, I can tell you, can be pretty much replaced by artificial intelligence. It's not a really enlightening thing to do, so I do it for the fun, but not for joining you up. So the question is really, can we really plan for in 15 years? And I believe that's very difficult. So we must be prepared to navigate in uncertainty, in real uncertainty. It requires agility. It requires financial agility, not setting up everything for the next 15 years. And it requires understanding. And hence, as a rector of the university, forgive me, it requires research. It requires understanding the very fundamental mechanisms. And it will require, and this is my third point, thousands of top-trained talent. One of the most important financial investments, I believe, is investing in talents. At least in the university, and I believe also in your institutions, people make the difference, individuals make the difference, the ideas of individuals make all the difference. Talents and partnerships, people can't work alone, they are very strong resources, and whatever the problem is today in security, stability, in the society, we need to collaborate. And I say it all the time now in our university, no research alone, no faculty, no university, no country, and no industry alone can really drive the changes. We have to act as an ecosystem. And a word I like much more than ecosystem is social network, because I find this is the most Luxembourgish work I could think of. You know, if you think about a social network, which country would be more a social network than Luxembourg? So higher education really has to play a very important role in this. And I can just say, as a research university, our university, the University of Luxembourg, takes this very, very serious, not only in attracting talents, but retaining talent. An interesting number is, out of our graduates at the University of Luxembourg, 60% stay in Luxembourg. And I'm often asked, why do they stay in Luxembourg? Not necessarily because of the university, they stay in Luxembourg because of Luxembourg. Because I met a wife, is your proposition? Yeah, perhaps an Italian wife, I don't know. Okay, so I will stop here. But it's really my three main points. There is nothing more structuring than money. So you've got the tool in your hands, Mr. Gramegna. It is difficult to plan, especially in a society with artificial intelligence, and we will not do anything with the correct amount of talents. Let me give, I'm a physicist, I love number crunching. Give you one number. It has nothing to do with finance, but shows you this challenge. In Germany, my home country, in the last 10 years, the number of students in engineering has dropped by 50%. 50% in Germany, the country of engineers. So just as a consequence for Luxembourg, imagine where the engineers, if they are not produced in Luxembourg, where will they come from? My gut feeling is they will not come from Germany. We have to be prepared for this. When it comes to talents, we have to think of ourselves, and the university is making you here as consultants would say, a value proposition. So with this, I would like to stop. Would like to thank you, really, the Bridge Forum Dialogue and all our partners, really, for this very excellent initiative of making this room full, which is really great. There is a lot of interest around this. I would like to thank specifically to Pierre Gramegna for being here. I know that you're a great friend of our university. When I've been Vice Rector of Research, I've seen you very often. The very first question you've asked me tonight, how is the university doing? We can count on you as a friend. And I would also finish by thanking Elena Daneshcu for setting up the event. And I believe I leave you in very good hands, in the hands of Pierre Gramegna. Thank you very much.
So, dear Mr. Pierre Gramegna, Managing Director of the European Stability Mechanism, Vice President of the Bridge Forum Dialogue, and keynote speaker of the Robert Triffin Lecture Edition 2024, dear Professor Jens Kreisel, Rector of the University of Luxembourg, dear Professor Bernard Snoy, President of the Robert Triffin International, distinguished guests, excellencies, dear partners, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of your director at the University of Luxembourg, a public history co-financed by EU competitive funding and its partner that the Rector mentioned, I would like to express my gratitude to the Bridge Forum Dialogue and the Liaison Office in Luxembourg of the European Parliament, which has given us the opportunity to meet this evening around a topic of highest interest, the evolution of Europe's financial response to challenges, and an eminent invited speaker, Pierre Gramegna. But before getting to the heart of the matter, allow me to mention that these constellations of partners, led by the University of Luxembourg and Robert Triffin International, has long been reflecting together on the history of an Europe built through currency, especially on economic and monetary union, as it emerged from the visionary spirit, innovative ideas, and intellectual dialogue between Pierre Werner and Robert Triffin, who since the early 1960s have forged the framework of economic and monetary union in Europe, based on irreversibility and perfect symmetry between the economic and monetary aspects, with political union and democratic strengths as the ultimate objective and the social dimension as an intrinsic component of economic and monetary union. Since 2011, Mr. Gramegna has always honored this joint effort of the University and Robert Triffin International in our debates, in getting his expertise, his original insights, and his participation in his various capacities and functions. Even though he is perfectly well known in Luxembourg and worldwide, allow me please to mention that Mr. Gramegna is since December 2022 the Managing Director of the European Stability Mechanism and the CEO of the European Financial Stability Facility. He was Minister of Finance of Luxembourg and member of the ESM Board of Governors from 2013 to 2022. During his mandates, Mr. Gramegna rebalanced the national budget and ensured that Luxembourg fully complied with the EU Stability and Growth Pact. During his term, the country was rated AAA by all rating agencies. In 2017, Mr. Gramegna set up the Luxembourg House of Financial Technology to promote fintech and enhance digitalization of the financial center, in which the University of Luxembourg is also a trendsetter. As Minister of Finance, Mr. Gramegna served as governor to the International Monetary Fund and several multilateral development banks. Pierre Gramegna held previously a diplomatic career spanning from 1983 to August 2003, holding various posts, including Ambassador of Luxembourg in Japan, also accredited in South Korea, from 1996 to 2002, Consul General of Luxembourg in San Francisco from 1993 to 1996, Consular at the Embassy of Luxembourg in Paris, 1988-1992, and First Secretary at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Luxembourg from 1983-1988. The program this evening includes the keynote speaker of Mr. Gramegna, followed by a Q&A session moderated by Professor Fabio Mazzini from the University Roma III and General Secretary of Robert Triffin International, and at the end, the conclusion pronounced by Professor Bernard Snoy, President of Robert Triffin International. Let me add, please, that this event is a hybrid one. It is a live broadcasted by the Media Center of the University with the help of the European Parliament. And the event is also recorded. It will be subsequently published on the university website in the Library of Audiovisual Documents on Europe. Now I have the pleasure to invite to take the floor Mr. Pierre Gramegna for his keynote entitled The Evolution of Europe Financial Response to Challenges, What Next?
Thank you. So, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for this event. Pleasure to see a few or a lot familiar faces and some unknown ones. So let me start by thanking the organizers, so the Bridge Forum, but also then our host here, the European Parliament. Thank you, Christophe. Also for the logistical support, and also thank you for organizing the Robert Schuman Day here on the 9th of May. It was a great venue. I'd like to thank, obviously, Jens for your kind words, but also for the interesting things you said about university. I'm going to say a few things about that. I'd like to thank the Robert Triffin International Foundation and Elena Danescu for your kind introduction, which was far too elogial and far too long. And I say to myself, the longer your CV, the older you are. Now, before starting to comment, the title might be misleading because I'm going to address the issue of the financial response from the angle of the ESM. So I'm not going to treat the topic in general. I might allude to a few things in the course of the speech, but obviously as we are a crisis management institution, you can call us a lender of last resort, or you can call